everyone. Good afternoon. Very excited to see all of you and thank you for joining us. So thank you for joining Female Founders Fund first ever pitch competition in partnership with Lightspeed Venture Partners and Goldman Sachs. My name is Adriana Samaniego and I'm an investor at Female Founders Fund, and I'm thrilled to be the host of today's event. So I would like to first kick off by saying, much like Female Founders Fund's everyday mission, our purpose in launching this pitch competition is not only to provide capital, but strategic mentorship, business tools, and more to propel underrepresented female founders. And I'm incredibly excited about the 5 founders who will be pitching their businesses today. So first off, this event could not have been possible without the support of our generous sponsors who are providing all the winnings that are going directly to our finalists today. So I'd first like to thank Goldman Sachs, Carta, Full Stack Finance, Amazon Web Services, The Working Assembly, Jennifer Bett Communications for their support. And lastly, a huge thank you to our streaming partner Upstream for hosting this event on their platform today. And I'm very excited and grateful to introduce our 4 incredible judges here today who are going to help us evaluate these businesses. So first up, we have our founding partner of Female Founders Fund, Anu Dugal.
Hi, everyone.
Fantastic. And next we have Samara Hernandez, founding partner of Chingona Ventures.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. And then we have Mercedes Bent, a partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners. The camera got me every time too. And last but not least, hi Mercedes, we have Michelle Kennedy, founder and CEO of Peanut.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Really excited again to welcome all of our judges, and thank you again to all of our partners who are making today's event possible. So want to provide a quick overview of today's event and what you can expect. So we're going to kick off the event with our 5 finalists pitching live today. Very excited. Shortly, we'll kick that off. And then after that, we were going to have a fireside chat with one of our own portfolio founders, Lola Prego of Base. And I'll be leading that discussion with Lola. Following that, we're going to have a one-on-one networking session for everyone where each attendee will be placed still there. Okay. Where each attendee will be placed with 2 other people for a 5-minute speed networking session. And then we're going to wrap up the event with an announcement of the winners. So be sure to stay tuned to the end. And, I hope that many of you enjoy, the speed networking session as well. So now for, the event, I would love to introduce our 5 finalists. So these 5 founders were selected out of a group of over 300 applicants, and they're building truly impactful businesses that we're excited to hear about more today. They're all early stage startups who have raised an average of $500,000 to date, and they're based in Houston, Chicago, New York, LA, and Boston. So first up, I'd love to introduce Catherine Cross, founder of Anja. Hi. Welcome. Next, I'd like to introduce Tylisha Summers, founder of Spendette.
Hello.
Good to see you. Next, we have Angela Castillo, founder of Hello Guru.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. And next we have Lauren Wilson, founder of Doramar.
Hello, everyone.
And then last but not least, we have Meenakshi Lakshman, founder of Manifest.
Hey, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yes, welcome founders, and again, congratulations to all of you for being one of the 5 finalists for today's pitch competition. So as a reminder, you will have 7 minutes to pitch, and then there will be 7 minutes to answer questions from our judges. So hopefully 1 question from each judge. And then, we will give you a 1-minute warning via the chat function on the side of your screen, but don't worry if you end up going a little over. I will kindly interject, reminding you to wrap up your pitch. And then, of course, I'm crossing fingers that there are no tech issues, but with a live event like this, we never know. I did not tee that up. I probably just jinxed us, but it's okay. So just bear with us if we do have any tech issues. And of course, please feel free to share some love to our finalists via the chat function, interact with one another, and just know that everyone can see what you're typing. And so thank you again for everyone who is joining us live today, and very excited to connect with some of you during our speed networking session. And with that, I would love for us to kick off the competition. So we are first going to get started. Our first finalist pitching is Catherine Cross, founder of Anja. So best of luck to everyone. And over to you, Catherine.
Awesome.
And I think I will get off of the screen as well.
Okay. Cool. Yes, well, I am Catherine, and I am the founder of Anja. So our mission is to protect your baby's future. Sorry, is there any way we can make the deck screen equal to mine? Or I can pull up mine. Oh, yes. Okay, perfect. Yes, so the mission of Anja is to protect your baby's future. And in general, I have been noticing this trend across the healthcare industry that every healthcare provider is being unbundled, thinking hims and hers and modern fertility, things like that. Anything that isn't an extreme measure or procedure is being unbundled and going D2C. So I am a firm believer that preventative care should be too. Delivery of care has broken out of the traditional walls of the hospital, and people are changing how they access and trust healthcare. So I think one of the largest components of preventative care is stem cell treatments. So accessing stem cells is definitely super important. It can treat over 85 diseases according to the FDA, but there are ongoing clinical trials, about 1,300, looking at different causes with using stem cells as treatments, including hair loss, heart disease, leukemia, cerebral palsy, anti-aging. Even in 2019, they began investigating PCOS. So overall, it's very important, but it's actually very difficult to find a stem cell treatment. So it is additionally super expensive. So the price of finding them is very excessive. So that's one huge barrier to entry. The cost of finding a match for umbilical cord blood stem cells, which are hematopoietic stem cells that are the ones that are FDA approved, they can cost up to $100K to find, and there's a chance of it being rejected. So accessibility is another huge issue, just with the fact when it comes to matching. So I firsthand know this issue because my family was looking for an umbilical cord blood match for hematopoietic stem cells for my brother, Andrew, who had cerebral palsy. And umbilical cord blood was one of his last chances at treatment. But we weren't able to find a match because we're both mixed race, and ethnicity is how they match. So the antigens go by ethnicity, and we're half Chinese and half white. So for mixed race children, as well as people of color, it's really difficult to find a match. But preserving umbilical cords is stem cells best kept secret and preventative care's best kept secret. So I tested this theory starting in June. I started making a lot of TikTok content related to preventative care, women's health, and umbilical cord blood in general and its potential use cases. And I found that people had no idea what it was or what it could be used for. So as you can see here, there's various TikTok comments that I received along the lines of, oh, I gave birth 4 days ago and no one told me about this, or I'm interested, but I didn't know it was accessible. So I'm working on creating awareness in the space as well as increasing accessibility. So currently our team consists of myself. I previously ran a Gen Z consultancy where we focused on marketing, and this is for sure a huge marketing play. So I love it because it's at the intersection of marketing and impact that I've always wanted. And we also have a head of partnerships and sales who actually received a stem cell treatment himself for a knee injury that was sports related. And we also have a marketing executive who I actually extended an offer to and hired on Monday. So he is now working with us to head up our digital marketing efforts. So the full product is a UX optimized full stack experience of freezing cord blood and cord tissue so that the baby will always have access to genetically matched stem cells and stem cell treatments. So we have our collection kit that we send to parents on the right, and that collection kit is sent to parents and they can take that with them to the hospital for the doctor or healthcare provider to be able to perform the collection. And then on the left, afterwards and throughout the entire process from when they initially pay for the collection kit, they can track their order status through a platform that we have and be able to feel really connected to the product. One big piece of feedback that I've heard from D2C healthcare is that people often feel disconnected. For instance, if you're freezing your eggs or anything like that, you just feel like you're sort of paying into an abyss. So I really wanted to ensure that we can reduce churn and ensure connection to the product by allowing even simple updates like where the blood and tissue is being stored, as well as at what temperature it can be stored at. So how the entire process works is we send the collection kit, as I mentioned, and then it can be kept in the home at room temperature. Parents take it with them to the hospital, and nurses or midwives, if they're doing a home birth, perform the collection at birth. And then parents notify our shipping team for pickup via our platform. And within 48 hours, the kit is brought to our contracted lab partner in New Jersey, where it's processed and cryopreserved safely. So our current pricing breakdown is according to 3 different product offerings that we have. So it's $35 a month over the course of 8 years, which covers 20 years of storage for just cord blood, $63 a month for cord blood and cord tissue, so the cord tissue being the cord itself, and then $85 a month to include the placenta as well, which has another type of stem cells, but also has plentiful stem cells that are in the cord tissue, so it's just kind of a top-up product. And so we have a down payment initially prior to birth of $150 for the collection kit with an option to buy now, pay later. We're launching a partnership next week with Walnut, the healthcare buy now, pay later startup. And we also have an offering of 10% off if they decide to pay upfront for 20 years of storage. So that would essentially be these prices upfront. So our go-to-market strategy consists of content and general digital media, as well as partnerships. So as I mentioned, I've been making quite a bit of TikTok content. I've had a couple of videos hit 3 million views. And we have also been doing quite a few podcast features, general publication partnerships, and things of that nature. And then on the partnership side of things, we've been partnering with a doula group as well as surrogacy agencies and other smaller doulas. And other partnerships that we're looking forward to making are employee incentive partnerships. So things like progeny and ensuring that employees, especially within the startup community, can be able to access and have coverage to umbilical cord blood banking. We're also looking at retail partnerships. Next month, we're launching a partnership with a small boutique for baby toys. And so I think that will be really exciting. And then the last partnership that we're looking forward to making is data monetization. So looking at how parents actually profit off of the specimens that they're giving up, and we can be able to contribute to research. So overall, the market is $35 billion. So I arrived at that because there are 3.7 million babies born in the US each year. That was at 2019, so at a peak low due to COVID. 69% of Americans are upper and middle class and would be able to afford at least our lowest price of $35 a month. And 14K is our LTV of a lifetime of cord blood and cord tissue storage, including 40% margins. So that would imply that the parents are paying for 60 years of storage, so 3 of those payments, and there's an expectancy for it to double by 2030 as it's doubled across the past 10 years.
All right.
So here's where we are now.
One last slide, Catherine.
Okay, got it. So here's where we are now. We have a 2,000 plus person wait list that we've been building off of TikTok. We actually launched a few weeks ago, and this week hit a milestone of our highest sales yet. I think that was highly due to paid TikTok ads that we've been running, and my TikTok account now has around 26,000 followers. We've all supply chain partnerships set up, and our product is launched.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So everyone, Catherine of Anja, founder of Anja, thank you for your pitch. Again, as a reminder, 7 minutes, and when I come in, that we want to wrap it up. But phenomenal job, very excited. So now I'd love to welcome our judges for our Q&A session. So let's bring up our judges. So let's start with Anu. Bringing her up soon. So as we're bringing up the judges for the Q&A, just as a reminder, we're doing 7-minute pitches and then followed by 7 minutes of Q&A. We have 5 founders pitching today who were chosen out of over 300 applications. They've raised an average of $500,000 to date, so early stage, and they're based all across the US. Welcome our judges. So our Rockstar group, let's start with you, Anu. What's your first question for Catherine?
So, Catherine, first of all, congrats. Great presentation and I think a super interesting market opportunity. I would love to understand, you did a great job in describing the product and kind of the customer flow. How do you think about your competitive advantage? So what is kind of the secret sauce that you have that will position you to be successful versus others who may enter the market?
Yeah, definitely. So I think 3 main components. So one being this opportunity to potentially monetize off of the specimens that they're giving up. The other being general go-to-market. So as we've been reaching out to doula groups, surrogacy agencies, things like that, none of them have barely any information related to cord blood. So I think the current players in the space just aren't reaching more contemporary partners. And third being just the general user experience. So we're really trying to make everything super tech-enabled. A lot of the current players in the space don't even have something as simple as being able to pay through the website. You have to call in or fill out a form and manually pay. So I think we're really just trying to make a premium UX. And then the broader vision for the company is for this to be the go-to D2C for all things preventative care. So launching placenta banking in November, immune cell banking next February, and then adult stem cell banking the following year.
Great, thank you.
And so next we'll have, so the order of Q&A will be, next up we have Mercedes, and then we'll go with Samara and Michelle. So over to you, Mercedes.
Thanks so much for your presentation, Catherine. And I was curious if there's a specific target audience or initial adopter that you think on the consumer side, like what are the characteristics or beliefs these people have that would make them the best fit?
Yeah, definitely. I've been noticing quite a few people who have a predisposition to certain diseases. For instance, yesterday, one of the sales that we made, she has a history of leukemia in her family. Umbilical cord blood is one of the most common use cases for leukemia. So people like her, she is pretty middle class, I believe she identifies as. So I would say generally women are the deciders as well, although they consult their partners. So it's usually women who are in their second and third trimester of pregnancy and have a predisposition to certain diseases.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for this great presentation. There was actually a lot of educating I had from the presentation. My question is more on the user experience. I know when I had my child, the last thing I was thinking about was, bringing a box to the birth and getting the sample and returning it, because no one educated me on it. No one told me about it. So my question is, on the user experience, how are you going to educate upfront, and how are you going to make this easy enough where someone with all these other things in their head can make sure to get a sample within 48 hours and send it? What's the sense of urgency for them?
Yeah, definitely. So we tackle education through videos. So actually about half of our sales, they didn't require speaking to someone on our team before they decided to purchase. They just immediately purchased through the site. And I think that's because they all converted through TikTok videos where it was speaking about the whole process and the benefits, things of that nature. So I think videos are really the key there. And then as for making the UX easier, we just tell parents that it should be a part of their hospital bag. We also follow up with their physicians after they sign up with us to make sure that their OBs or midwives are aware that they're going to collect, so that there's someone else that knows. But pretty much after they bring the collection kit to the hospital, they just have to let someone know, or someone already knows that they're collecting, and then they'll perform the collection and notify our shipping team, so then they can just leave the collection kit in the hospital room. As long as there's someone there that can sign for it, then the shipping team can pick it up without the parents having to monitor it or anything like that. And it can last at room temperature for 48 hours.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for that. I had the advantage of seeing some of the slides that you didn't get to. So there were some of the points that I know that you've made that I just wanted to share because I thought it was really interesting. So you're going for that kind of market, simulating what's happening in China, where 7 to 10% of parents are banking. And so it's a similar kind of question actually around education. Obviously, something's like deeply ingrained in China where parents are thinking about this. How familiar are midwives, OBGYN, with collection in the US, and how much do you think you have to do in terms of education to really kind of cement into a practice for all women who are going through pregnancy to start thinking about it?
Sure. Yeah, we have an advisor who's been in the space for about 12 years, and she's never come across an OB that has never performed a collection, although adoption in the US is currently at 2%, I think due to limited awareness. So I think there is experience there. But even if there isn't, we always offer the opportunity for clients to get on the phone with us, with their midwives or physicians, and we can walk them through the collection. We also have a small comic inside that just goes through the steps of the collection. So we had an animator drop a bunch of images, but it's honestly pretty easy. I mean, I would even feel comfortable doing it. You just have to basically stick a needle inside of the umbilical cord blood vein, but it's really, really large and very poignant on the cord. And then you just watch the blood flow. So there's a lot of room for human error. And then after that, you can just store the placenta and cord in a jar. You just place it in, and then all of it goes into the kit. But yeah, there's definitely higher adoption in China. So that's the model we're going after. I think it's mainly because they emphasize anti-aging benefits and more so position it as a premium beauty product as opposed or wellness product, as opposed to fear mongering through like leukemia and cancers and all these different types of things. So that's definitely how I want to position the product. And also China has the advantage of it being a government sponsored company. So they just have a large budget. So yeah, but I'm trying to basically create a similar service and then also add in other products related to preventative care. And actually Peanut has been great for user research.
Thank you. Yay. Great job. Great job, Catherine. And thank you to all of our judges for your very thoughtful questions. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our next finalist. So I will excited to introduce everyone to Tyleisha Summers, the founder of Spendette.
Hello, everyone. Tylisha Summers, and I am the co-founder of Spendette. As a business owner, if I could help you collect payments from your customers every time they made a purchase, would you be interested? Or as a customer, if I could help you break down larger payments into more digestible amounts throughout the month, would you care? Next. Next. Spendette addresses both sides by providing a frictionless way for consumers to pay their debt in smaller amounts and for companies to collect payments from their customers. By connecting their bank account to Spendette, consumers automate their debt repayments via a predefined micropayment deducted at every transaction. And then those micropayments are collected and sent as a one-time payment to the user's creditor monthly. The benefit is really twofold, helping both the customer stay on track or get back on track and improving top-line revenue for the companies. Let's see how it works. So let's say you go to Starbucks and you buy a cup of coffee for $5. Your micropayment that you set is $1. So the total transaction would be $6. $5 would go to Starbucks and $1 would go to your Spendette account. And remember, this would happen every single time you either swipe your debit card or have a banking transaction, so like bill pay. And then we would send a one-time payment to your creditor at the end of each month. After securing Capital One as our payment processor, our customers are averaging $60 per month in payments toward their debt, and we've paid off credit cards, student loans, and auto loans. After validating the direct-to-consumer side, we have expanded to the B2B space because we know that companies have a larger pool of our customer base, which is needed in order for us to scale. We have several utility companies in our pipeline that are interested in our payment solution to help them reduce their customers' outstanding balances. Our initial focus on the utility industry is for a few reasons. One, electricity, as we know, is a basic life essential. And if someone is unfortunate enough to get their lights cut off, within 48 hours, they figure out a way to get it cut back on. In addition, utility balances tend to be $500 or less, so balances can be paid off sooner. We've also gained interest from nonprofits, and we figured out a model allowing them to provide Spendette for free to their communities. Because we know underrepresented communities are often overlooked, but whom likely need these type of financial tools the most. And recently, we gained the attention of both MasterCard and Microsoft and are partnering with them to help us secure B2B customers. We make money two ways. First, through a subscription-based model where we charge the end customers a monthly fee. And secondly, for B2B customers, we charge an annual subscription plus a percentage of the payments collected via Spendette, and the service is free to their end customers. We're in the process of developing an API connectivity, which would allow for a fully integrated solution for our B2B customers, also granting them real-time data visibility, although this is not a requirement to initiate business today. My husband and I started this business, and we would like to say that we were our first customers. We found ourselves in over $100,000 worth of consumer debt, and we became debt-free, leveraging the same principles that Spendette was built upon. Both engineers by degree, and as financial coaches, we have also assisted individuals and small businesses in improving their financial well-being. Our CTO leads our development team and brings a wealth of experience in supporting startups and industry leaders. And our advisors bring more than 60 plus years combined experience in both banking and cybersecurity, two key aspects of our business. We are seeking $1.5 million investment to expand our sales team to continue filling our B2B pipeline for additional product development, including the build out of our API, as I mentioned earlier, and supporting an automated CRM system to help support and nurture our current and prospective customers. 3 out of 4 Americans say that finances are the number one stressor. That's before politics, work, and even family. Majority of them don't even know where to begin when it comes to improving their finances, but they're still spending money. Whether in debt or not, consumers will continue spending money. And Spendette understands that and works in parallel with consumers' everyday spending habits. Set it, forget it, spend money, and let Spendette do the rest. who's ready to spend away their debt?
Great job, Tylisha. And I would love to say apologies. You did one phenomenal, but so sorry about the size. One, we were not supposed to be on the screen, but I think I may have jinxed us in the beginning, saying, cross our fingers for no tech issues. So apologies to that, but you did a phenomenal job at pitching. And so what we're going to do is bring back the judges, and then again, just bear with us, give us a little grace. Hopefully the next presentation we get it right, and it should only be the presenter and the deck, but you killed it. So we are bringing up, thank you, Tylisha, for being so patient. So we're bringing the judges back, and we are going to do a Q&A session. So our upstream team is working on it. So as a reminder, for those of you who are just joining, again, we have 5 finalists who are pitching today, who are chosen out of 300 applications. They've raised an average of $500,000 to date, based out of Houston, Chicago, New York, LA, and Boston. We have 2 fintech startups, and the other 3 startups are across healthcare, consumer tech, and both consumer, actually B2B software. So very excited about our finalists. And now that we have our judges here with us, we're going to lead into our Q&A. So over to you, Anu, for our first question for Tylisha, founder of Spendette.
Great. So Tylisha, great presentation, and love the concept. My question is really around your go-to-market strategy. So, I think overall in the fintech space, we often get targeted by different startups that are aiming to help you reduce your debt, or get a better deal on your mortgage, and it's often difficult to kind of sift through what's the best solution for you. So I'm curious, how are you thinking about communicating and marketing to your target demographic?
Absolutely. So one differentiator for us is that we give our customers 100% control on defining what that micropayment is. So all our competitors in this space, they use a roundup method, or we've even started to see them allow their customers to kind of pay extra premium to move an additional larger amount. And we feel like by setting that micropayment, one, it provides rateability. The consumer knows every time, what's going to come out. But in addition, we believe that it provides a faster impact. So our customers tend to average currently about $2 as their micropayment. So every time they have a transaction, $2 is deducted. But in addition to that, when it comes to what types of debts that we serve, so we can address any type of consumer debt. We see a lot of focus on student loan debt because that's kind of a buzz term right now, in focus. It is coming back in February, but that's a detail. And so it's student loan debt, or we can help you address credit cards. Again, we can address any type of consumer debt. And then when we look to the B2B space, we found a niche opportunity because there's really not any fintech really focusing on having the business as their customer, and providing this alternative payment solution for their customers. Yes, you can pay by phone, mail, in person, but there's not a fintech or a company that exists today that allows your customers to pay as they go throughout the month, and meeting their customers where they are, breaking those payments down into smaller, more digestible chunks.
Great, thanks.
And next up, we have Mercedes for your question.
Oh, you went on mute. Thanks so much for your presentation. I'm always curious, in terms of your customer type, what's the average amount of debt that they typically have? And is it credit card or is it student debt? And I'm wondering if you guys are, because I understand you got some customers already, in terms of, are you able to show that they're paying down their debt faster than they would otherwise. I'm thinking through a lot of times the efficacy of how do you kind of highlight, like, okay, this product's really working to get other folks excited about joining.
Yep. So for your first part of your question, so the average debt amount is around $5,000, and the majority of our customers are paying off their credit cards. And then right behind that is the student loans that they're targeting. And then from there, it can be auto loans, mortgages, etc. But yeah, the average tends to be around $5,000. Your second part of your question was, are we able to collect data to kind of show and validate that they're actually paying it off sooner? So today, it's really through receiving customer feedback, right? And so we're asking our customers, like, how many debts have you been able to pay off through Spendette? If you did not have Spendette, what's the average amount of time that it would take you to pay off those debts? And through that feedback, through the customers, we're getting that information. Long term, we would like to integrate with the loan providers, for example, so that we can actually see their debts, being paid off, and be able to compare, like, what's your minimum monthly payment, and with Spendette, here's the impact. But today we have to ask that from our customers, but we would like that integration in the future.
Great, thank you.
Did I address all your questions?
Yes, you did. Great job.
Thank you for the presentation. Great idea. My question is around the sales strategy. I saw both B2C and B2B. So is the primary focus B2C or is it B2B? And then what is the sales strategy to either one? Because they're very different strategies.
Yes. So the primary focus is B2B, because in order for us to scale, we would like to secure those business customers, clients, if you will, because we know that they have a larger pool of our end customers. So ultimately, the end customers remain the same. It's just the marketing channel in which we get, right, to acquire them. We do appreciate that the B2B sales cycle is longer, which is why we are trying to bring in someone with sales experience to continue to help us fill that pipeline. We have initiated or in progress of finalizing a pilot with a company out of Missouri that we can't name right now because we're still working through the details. But it's really trying to get those pilots, because if we can get the pilot will be quicker, right, to shorten that sales cycle, to validate and prove it out to those companies, and then look forward, obviously, to a longer term partnership with them.
Thank you.
Hi, great presentation. And I love the concept. I think it will impact a lot of people. I suppose my question was somewhat touching on what Mercedes said, which is, what is the kind of North Star metric that you guys work towards now? And I suppose you somewhat answered it in terms of speed of clearing debt. But is that the key, like, indicator of success of the business, that people are clearing debt quicker? Or is it that they're placing, for want of a better expression, more of their debts with you? So maybe they're layering it, credit card and student loan and other, or a combination?
So I would say it's a mix, honestly. So you have customers who are excited to accelerate debt payoff. And so they're, paying their minimums, but they also want to get out of debt sooner. So they use Spendette as that acceleration. And so that's one customer. And then you also have those customers who are really kind of challenged to just make those larger payments. And again, they're still spending money. And so they're leveraging Spendette to try to help them. Like, we're taking a little out at a time. They don't notice it. Kind of, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? We say, how do you pay off debt? One micro payment at a time, because you're taking out small micro payments, small amounts, where that customer doesn't notice it. And then over time, they're very surprised at how much they've actually accumulated. So then for those customers, it's trying to help them develop a process or a plan to pay off their debt, and letting them know that here's a process, a proven process, to put in front of them that they can actually use. So two types, right? Acceleration, and then also for those who are like, okay, I know I got to do this, but I don't know, this large payment, it gives me anxiety. So, and we're seeing those types of customers as well.
So like acceleration, and then almost like financial education.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you again to our judges for your questions, and great job, Tylisha. So we are going to get all of us off of the screen before we get our next finalist up. And then again, thank you, Tylisha, for bearing with us and powering through your pitch so flawlessly. So next up, I would like to welcome our third finalist. And I'll actually just wait before I announce her, just to make sure we get everything. Perfect. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, and we'll make sure that the presentation is enlarged, and we have. But before I get into those details, would love to introduce our third finalist, founder of Hello Guru, Angela Castillo. So let's give us maybe one more minute, Angela. Let's try to get us off of the screen, and once we are, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adriana. Let me know.
Okay. Once you don't see me.
Ready? I'm going to start. So my name is Angela, and what I love the most is entrepreneurship and technology. I hold an MBA from Babson, and my last jobs were I was building technology in the Innovation Center in Anheuser-Busch in Silicon Valley, and I was the chief of staff at Drift. And working for right now, I'm in the mission with the Hello Guru team of empowering more humans to communicate with computers. Because what I've noticed working in these companies is that software is a never-ending demand. Each time we need more software. On the other hand, it's very hard to hire talent. So 86% of the companies struggle to find technical talent. And that technical talent is not well utilized because the only way in which we build software today is for the ground up using code from scratch. And that is very time consuming. It requires a lot of budget and talent. Next. So the solutions, this is why the solutions such as no code are going to be changing the world and changing the way we do business. By 2024, no code is going to be the main supplier of software development worldwide. So all the software is going to be made with no code, and we're talking about a market of $190 billion. Today with Hello Guru, we're only going to focus in the $20 billion market, which is US and LATAM for no code. This is a really big problem to solve because number one problem for CTOs is capacity. They each time have more software to build, and it gets very crowded. And one of the things that contributes to this problem is that 27% of the time spent by the technical hires is spent in internal tools. All the tools that businesses need in order to be able to run efficiently and effectively. So CRMs, admin panels, visualizations, and so forth. And it's almost a crime to have talent working in this, technical talent, because it's like having a Michelin-starred chef and having them flipping burgers instead of creating an award-winning dish. And this problem is not only about the talent, it becomes a budget problem. And it's a global problem for all size companies, but today I'm going to speak about our specific ICP. Where we have found more traction is in companies that are tech companies, subscription, that have in between $100,000 and $500,000 in MRR, and they have something customers love, and they're finding ways to scale. So at this stage, what is happening is that they have two options: buy a lot of canned software, pre-made solutions, and sort of stitch them all together in a way in which they still need technical talent to function them, and they need to enable them, leading to software saturation where employees don't even know what tools they're using anymore. And the second option is to build their own internal tools, which we know it performs better because this is what LinkedIn uses, Uber uses, Rappi uses, but you need to do it from scratch, and you hire 5 employees to do it. So you have suddenly a budget of $1 million spent on something that is not your core. So what we picture is a future where 100% of the software developers are spending the time in building amazing technology for the core business that is going to change the world. And citizen developers like me are building all the simple themes such as admin panels and all internal tools that the businesses need to operate. In order to be able to do this, we're creating a no-code tool that, can you go a slide before? We're creating a no-code tool that has 3 characteristics. It's flexible, so the UX UI is flexible, so you can build whatever you want and it can look in the colors that you want and works the way you need it. It's easy to use, so the learning curve for citizen developers like me is not high. And then it has security and infrastructure, so non-technical people do not need to worry about any type of security issues or that is not going to scale as fast as the company. Next. This is how the tool looks. And so the image at the top shows you the front-end builder, which is the equivalent of hiring a front-end software developer. A non-technical person can drag and drop elements like charts, tables, or anything that they need. And what is happening at the back is that is writing code, but you don't notice. And then the picture below is the equivalent of a back-end engineer, which is going to be able to allow you to create complex logic. So, for instance, it's a decision tree, but for instance, you receive an email and that email has a quote, so that quote directly goes to your finance systems and updates it, and then it goes to the employee inventory, and then it tells the right person, and then they put the approval and creates a visualization, all automated, making your business more efficient, but you don't need to use an expensive software developer for this. The other 2 things, other than the front-end builder and the back-end builder that we're focusing on, is in the infrastructure to make sure that it's scalable as you can grow as much as you want as a company and it won't fall. And integrations, we're leveraging existing technologies so that you can just do one click and integrate with any other system in the market. Next. We know that this is a very complex problem to solve. So that's why we focused a lot in hire very talented people. Right now, we are a global workforce all over the world with 30 employees, and our advisors come from companies that have been able to build complex products, and they have also been able to scale unicorn companies like Rappi, Drift, MIT Engine, and even one other no-code tool like Oncork. Next. So far, in our mission to empower more humans to communicate with technology, we have a university where 5,000 students are taking no-code courses every day. We build an agency where we build $200,000 of products for 40 plus companies using no-code tools to validate our solution. Of those, and now we're heads down building our product. 15 of those previous customers want to be in our beta. We launched the website 2 weeks ago, and we already have 50 companies subscribed. And we also are 5th in the Google search for no-code internal tools. So our next big launch is going to be end of the year. Next. We are a subscription model where, for instance, the users that we have in the university are going to pay $15 for a seat. And then companies like the ICP that we have, which are around Series A, are going to pay $45, and they're going to have on average 10 seats. Hello, Adriana.
Thank you so much, Anja. That was fantastic, really, really great. And so what we're going to do, again, is we're going to bring up our judges. And as a reminder, we have roughly 7 minutes, 1 question each for each judge. And we'll start with Anu, and then we'll go over to Mercedes, Samara, and then Michelle.
Great. So congratulations. Great presentation. The question that I have is, I think what you're offering is incredibly valuable, I'm sure, for many companies at the stage that you described. I'm curious, how are you thinking about targeting, kind of the key decision maker who would make the decision as to whether to adopt this technology, and who would that be within an organization?
Thank you for your question. I wish I would usually have a slide for this. So we have had a lot of success with CTOs. That's why we always mention the CTO's number one problem is capacity, because once they hear that they can train non-technical workforce and that other departments to build the things that are taking away their time in an unneeded way, they are in to try it. And once they start using it, what happens is that they realize that most of the things that they are doing in a really complex way with code from scratch do not really need code, because a good software engineer doesn't want to repeat the same thing twice. So they really find value quickly.
And for me, I was curious in terms of, when you think about your tech stack, which parts you've built yourself and what parts of your tech stack you guys have taken off the shelf.
So that's a really good question as well. So everything we have built ourselves. The only one thing which we haven't built ourselves is the integrations. So we have technology from a third party because they already have built them. And the APIs are standard these days. You're able to pull in some things and some others not. So integrations is the one thing that we already have off the box. For the rest, everything we built from scratch.
Great.
Hi, Angela. Thanks again. And good to see your progress. I have a question on your traction. Was the traction based on the services business, or was it did it come from the software tool that you built? I guess the second part of that question is the software tool, the no-code tool, ready to scale as it is today, or are you still making iterations on that?
Thank you for that question. I love to speak about this. The traction that I'm measuring about $200,000 in 8 months is 25,000 in MRR was an agency that we built where we would build with other no-code tools for internal tools. And it was just a proof of concept to build our product pipeline. The traction that we have right now for the product is not ready yet. It's going to be ready at the end of the year. It's 15 of our beta customers, our previous customers, want to be in the beta, and all the traction that we're getting online of people requesting it, people coming to us to try it. And then something really important is that we're focusing a lot on infrastructure. We hire one of the most senior software developments of infrastructure that comes from Rappi. And we are doing a microservices build where no matter how much you grow, it's not gonna break. And we're doing it now so that we don't need to repeat it in the future. So we're setting strong foundations for a good technology right now. That's why it's taking so long.
Great, thank you.
Hi. So one of the things that a CTO that I know very, very well might say about no code is that often it just adds another layer that requires integration. So rather than it being one universal, it's just if you had 14, now you've got 15 as opposed to just one. How do you answer CTOs who are perhaps more reluctant to move towards a no code solution?
You're right. We have had that situation before, and the problem is really don't want to add another tool because of the software saturation I was speaking about before. You have all these tools, and each tool requires for you to train your team on a learning curve and then to see results, and it doesn't even fit your needs. What we are suggesting is for you to build all your internal tools in our system and reduce that software saturation. That way you get two main benefits. One of them is that you don't have all this software saturation. And the other thing is that it adapts to your needs, because what ends up happening, we all have businesses, we know that our business has its own processes and its own magic. So putting a system that was not built for you usually kills that magic, and then you need to adapt, and that's not efficient. That's why companies, Unicorn, LinkedIn, Uber, they build their own things because they know it works better.
Thank you so much, Angela, and to our judges for all of your thoughtful questions. So once again, what we're going to do is we're going to spotlight our next finalists, and myself and our judges are going to go into the background. So next up, very excited to welcome Lauren Wilson, founder of Doramar. And so we'll just wait a couple minutes as we spotlight her and get off of the screen. And again, thank you all for all of you who are tuning in to this live, no tech issues. You gotta love live events.
Don't jinx me now.
No, you're gonna do fantastic. All right, just two more of us. We'll be right off. And so once we're off, Lauren, feel free to take it over.
Yeah, sounds good. Almost there. All right. Great. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Wilson. I'm the CEO and founder of Doramar. We're going to dive into the world of luxury fashion. So Doramar is what I like to describe as a curated influencer marketplace selling luxury consignment. So we really sit at the intersection of the high growth resale market and the power of the influencer. Next, please. When I was thinking about Doramar, I saw two huge glaring issues and problems within the luxury resale space. The first is that luxury resale lacks curation. I'm sure we've all seen a user experience that looks exactly like these images. It feels like you're shopping a virtual garage sale. Overwhelming amount of product, lack of provenance, aka where did these things even come from, and opaque authenticity processes make the shopping experience so frustrating. Next. Coupled with the fact that the luxury goods counterfeit market is valued at a whopping $600 billion, you are entirely confused if what you're even buying is real, you're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, and you just decide not to buy. So my train of thought was, how can we get customers to really trust the resale process, the luxury resale process? Next. Love them or hate them, consumers trust influencers from everything from doctors they're seeing, vacations are going on, and what they're wearing. Specifically the Gen Z millennial market, which will make up over 50% of the luxury goods market by 2025. Next. So this is essentially why we built Doramar. So Doramar is a luxury goods marketplace where the consumer can buy the secondhand items in the closets of the influencers they know and trust. And for the influencer, they essentially become their own personalized luxury brand by monetizing the secondhand items in the closet. Next. So you'll hear me use this word muse a lot. Muse is what we call the sellers on our site, the influencers on our site. Doramar herself was Picasso's muse and a surrealist artist. We really play into this concept of the muse. So to really understand, the muse concept in and of itself is to dig into who the luxury consumer is. Take Crystal Bick here. She's a New York-based influencer. She has 140,000 followers on her Instagram. She's been featured in Elle magazine, New York magazine. And when she joined Doramar, over half of her closet sold out in 5 days. And since her April launch, she has reconsigned with us 3 times already. Next. So how do we make money off of these muses or with these muses? So we take a commission off of each item sold on the platform. Our take rate ranges from 30 to 45%. This is a higher take rate than your peer-to-peer apps because we do actually take the consignment in-house. So we're both a service to our muse as well as a platform. Next. So our traction thus far, we've just onboarded our 43rd muse as we're speaking. Of those 43 muses, 41% have come back to reconsign within this year. Year-to-date revenues at $155,000. We closed 2020 at $48,000, and so we've hit that 20% monthly growth rate. You can see we've had some really strong press articles, including in Forbes and Vogue, which are market leaders in fashion. And in the spring, we raised our first round of fundraising for $300,000, led by Generator, our accelerator program, and my alma mater, USC, and their venture fund. Next. So how are we looking at the marketplace opportunity? Resale is a huge market. It's currently valued at $36 billion and looking to grow in the next 5 years to $77 billion. But our addressable market is really these muses, these influencers. So the way that my team and I looked at how many influencers are there to consign with us and to bring their audience into the Doramar fold. So we really looked at the sphere of Instagram and cut it down further from there. How many people are influencers on Instagram? How many are fashion? How many are luxury? And even smaller, who has $5,000 plus to consign within 6 months, which is our average closet value right now? That's a total global influencer closet value of $8.8 billion. Next.
So a little note on the team. My team really consists of professionals within the luxury space, high-growth startup, and creative. I've lived and worked in New York for about 10 years. I started at Gucci doing celebrity PR. I then went to NYU and got a master's in costume studies, which is really the anthropological study of fashion. I then moved to Christie's, where I did marketing and really kind of understood how provenance plays into purchasing high-value items. And before starting Doramar, I was at Modo Operandi, which is a luxury e-commerce platform. And I managed our VIP client development and really understood, what are luxury consumers looking for out of an e-commerce experience. Luigi, our strategy and growth lead, we both met at Moda, where he headed up data analytics. He was also previously at ClassPass and Vroom. Next. Brian is our brand marketing director and really our muse guru. He has over 20 years experience in luxury, including sales and merchandising at YSL and Carolina Herrera. And Inga and Jenny spearhead all of our creative and editorial work with our muses. Next. So, what's the overarching vision for Doramar? Resale is just kind of the tip of where we're going, just kind of how books were that for Amazon. We envision this paradigm shift in the way that luxury brands interact with luxury consumers through our hyper-personalized muse concept. The first 3 years at Doramar, this being year one, are really focusing on positioning the muse as a reseller. We're looking to gather a high volume of muses, personalize the experience, putting the right muse in front of the right person, and investing in operations and tech to carry this volume. In year 4 and beyond, we're really looking to position the muse as a retailer in and of themselves. Armed with the knowledge of what brands, what aesthetics, and what styles at what price point convert on a muse's audience, we can strategically position our muses to be hyper-personal strategic retail partners for luxury brands. Gone are the days when luxury brands need to go to depersonalized, brand-diluting platforms, but instead, they'll use our muses as a go-to multi-brand retailer. And I know I'm getting cut off, but we're just looking to change the future of luxury resale and open for questions now.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Great job. So let's bring up our judges. Alrighty, so same order. We're going to start with Anu for our first question for Lauren of Doramar.
Lauren, great presentation. I am a very active resale shopper, so appreciate your view on kind of the market opportunity. The question that I have for you, and this is, I guess, more from a personal perspective, is I think a lot of resale shoppers really focus on shopping by brand. So they go to platforms where they know that their top 3 or 4 favorite brands are typically, they have a good inventory of them. So I'm curious, with Doramar, you're leading first with the influencer versus kind of with the brands. And so I'm curious, what's your point of view on, is it going to be the influencers that drive the traffic or the other way around?
Yeah, and I think what Doramar is really trying to do, and something that we didn't really touch on in the presentation, is what sustainability means for resale. And so what Doramar really is trying to do is kind of build a head-to-toe wardrobe for a woman in the resale space. So while right now, people might go to a Poshmark or a Real to find like that one Chanel bag they've been eyeing, it doesn't really change the industry in terms of dressing head to toe. And I think when we follow these influencers, we want to kind of emulate and be influenced by what they're wearing, all around. And I think resale has kind of struggled to be a go-to platform to discover your style, and Doramar with these muses basically is a platform of discovery. And I think, as I said beginning of the presentation, curation and trust is such an issue in resale. And I think, resale platforms are leaving money on the table by making it really difficult to kind of add multiple units to someone's cart because you don't know how to style it. You don't trust if it's going to fit or if it's even fashionable anymore. And the muses really solve for that.
Got it. Thanks.
I was curious in terms of your influencers who are going to be selling now. I guess, are these people who have already been selling and have, stores and they kind of have an operation, they know how to do this? Or how much onboarding and kind of upfront training do you need to help them figure out how to connect and really, sell their product and really build a whole brand and store around it?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing is that we actually take that service in-house. So the muses on the platform are actually just people that, have an Instagram following. Maybe they're fashion collectors, maybe they're a Vogue editor. And we work with them to kind of curate the items that will sell well on the platform, be it your Chanel's or a vintage Yves Saint Laurent or what have you. We'll do the operations in-house, and then they'll do the promotion of that on their channels.
Got it. Thank you.
Does that answer your question enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Lauren. Great job on your presentation. My question is also on the influencer side. A big thing about what you're building is trust. And so how do you choose the influencers that you work with? How do you ensure that the quality that they're selling is up to your standards? And then also, can you talk a little bit about the influencer in terms of body types, brands, right? What aligns with what Doramar is trying to create?
Yeah, so table stakes in terms of like who can be a muse is we're looking for people who at least have 5,000 followers plus on their social platform, and need to have at least 20 items and a certain brand list that fit certain condition standards. I think the beauty of Doramar and where a lot of other resale platforms kind of slip and fall is that they're face front on this platform, so we're not getting 20,000 items of just bad condition, low price point, that sort of thing. Like they're really curating what they want to put front first, which makes Doramar a real destination for those collectabilities and those high margin items. And then in terms of kind of who is the muse in terms of like branding, that's another beauty of Doramar. I think luxury, from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, has really struggled with who represents luxury. And there's so many women that participate in luxury of different shapes, sizes, voices, platforms. And at Doramar, you're able to see who those women are and really shop their closet and really interact with them. I think one of my favorite things when muses launch is that they essentially become like an organic sales force. The customers will be like, oh my gosh, like, how did you wear this? I love this when I saw you launch it. How did this fit? And so it kind of takes the stylist portion off of us and puts it on the muse, which is what they're best at. And, we're here to just kind of facilitate that conversation and that transaction.
Thank you.
Hi, I was going to ask you a question actually about the counterfeit market and just in terms of how much risk is associated with you guys. So if something does reach me and it is counterfeit, how much kind of checking have you guys done? Do you have to have a team that does that because you're handling the goods, and is there a different challenge there?
Yeah, so absolutely. We do. One of the reasons we do take it in-house is obviously the authentication process. So we do have an authenticator who, will go through, especially their high-risk items, to verify their authenticity. I think, again, where we win in authenticity is that because we're front-facing these muses and they have a reputation within the luxury industry, like I said, some of them are Vogue editors, some of them have partnerships with Dior. They're not going to knowingly put their reputation on the line, although we do double check just because fakes can be so good. And maybe someone got something at a secondhand store and they're reselling it, what have you. So I can say to date, have not sold anything that has been, a counterfeit issue. Of course, that's of very utmost concern for us. I think where we can win kind of macro is where we're looking at the power of blockchain. We're already this proof of provenance platform. Like I'm showing you exactly who owned it. And there's so much power in that, both from authenticity, but also making these muses closets like an actual collectability thing. Like their closet exists as a digital asset. LVMH, Richemont, Product Group are joining the Aura platform. And so we're looking at what the power of blockchain can be for, brand to primary market to muse to Doramar to client back to Doramar. So that's on a macro level how we're thinking about it. But right now, yes, we do take it in-house to verify its authenticity.
Thank you so much to our judges again for your questions, and Lauren, great job. And so what we're going to do is we are going to get off of the screen and spotlight and introduce our final finalists. So I'm very excited to introduce everyone to Meenakshi, who's the founder of Manifest. And so this is our fifth and final pitch of the day, which I'm very excited for. And so we will bring up Meenakshi and get off. And then again, huge thank you to our upstream partners and our female founders team who have been just rock stars in ensuring that this event is going smoothly. And so once I'm off of this.
Okay, I guess it's my cue to get started. Wait for one more second. Okay, there we go. Hi everyone, my name is Meenakshi. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Manifest. Manifest is the easiest way to consolidate retirement accounts as people switch jobs. Next, please. My co-founder Anurag and I started Manifest to help millions of Americans maximize their retirement outcomes. Before Manifest, I worked for over a decade at Goldman Sachs. There I built a number of enterprise solutions. One of the key projects was to lead a team to build the brokerage account transfer system. And Manifest is my co-founder Anurag's third startup, and it's second in the 401k space. Next. We came up with the idea for Manifest by putting participants first. Imagine an employee named Katie. She has just switched jobs. It's her third job in the last 5 years. As a result, all of her old accounts have a relatively low balance. Unfortunately, Katie is not alone. There are over 16 million people like Katie who face the same issues as they switch jobs every single year. Katie has a few options with her old retirement account. She has 3. Next slide, please. First, she could cash out her account. Everyone here is aware that cashing out is terrible for retirement outcomes. Over $2 trillion have been cashed out in the past 10 years. Alternatively, she could leave her account as is. I think most people do that. On average, an American has 2.8 accounts left behind. But old accounts tend to have higher fees and are often poorly managed. Finally, she could transfer. However, not many people do this. Transferring is just so hard today. In fact, the pen, paper, and phone call process could take up to 60 days. And it's no surprise that 89% of people who actually start the process do not complete it today. Next. Looking at Katie's account at a plan-wide level, Katie no longer works with her old employer, but they are still paying $72 a year per account to motivate and retain somebody who no longer works for them. Next. Imagine a seamless transfer solution like Manifest. Her old employers are happy to get rid of her small accounts, while her new employer gains a balance that usually takes somebody 4 years to gain. Next. The real benefit of consolidating Katie's account today is actually what we can see over a 10-year period. Through our partnership with Washington University at St. Louis, they are our research partners, we found that consolidation actually increases retirement balances by 36% over a 10-year period. Next. And this is all not just theoretical. Manifest is distributed through employers. We have access to 57,000 participants, our employer clients. We have already started transferring millions of dollars of assets to help people like Katie. Next. The preliminary results of having an efficient transfer on a plan are in. Manifest grows the average account balance across the plan by more than $13,000. This is mostly because we take all these small balances and we are able to consolidate them into one active account. And also, we keep those balances invested as people switching jobs. There are 2 very interesting and good side effects to a good transfer platform. First, we increase contribution rates from people from a lot of hard-to-target minority groups like women, people with lower income, younger people. Finally, we also reduce the cash-out risk in a plan by more than half. Next. Let's take a look at the product that is responsible to make this happen. Manifest is a responsive web app, so it can be used on any device. It's distributed through the employer to their employees. There are a few things we did to make sure that Katie's journey is delightful. First, we learned very early on that people forget a lot about their old plans, but they remember their employer's name. So we built a database for them to be able to search and quickly find it. Next, we invented a virtual digital transfer specialist, Henry. Henry helps people figure out where they should be transferring their retirement account. Finally, Katie has to just digitally consent and our transfer is on its way. After that, this whole journey takes less than 10 minutes and Manifest tracks the transfer every step of the way. So Katie knows where her money is throughout the journey. And if anything comes up, pretty much we are a financial advisor, registered financial advisor, and we can jump in and help. Next. In other industries, usually there are transfer agents that connect the providers to make a transfer happen. So for example, on the brokerage industry, DTCC, Depository Trust and Clearing Company, is that transfer agent, and transfers happen within 3 to 5 days. Next. Unfortunately, in the 401k space, there is no existing intermediary. Next, Manifest's vision is to build the pipes between the providers to fully digitize the transfer process. The same app I just showed you on the employer side, we want to open the back end of it with APIs to be able to share data with the providers to automate the pen, paper, and phone call process and create a very seamless digital experience. Next, Providers are extremely motivated to sign up with us. Every year, as an industry, they lose $5.7 billion due to inefficient transfers. There are two sides to this equation. One is the lost revenue. I just told you the $2 trillion that were lost due to cash out, so they lose revenue on that. Also, slower transfers means providers don't receive money early on, so the sooner they receive it, the more money they can make on it. On the other side, they employ a lot of operations, customer support people who are now handling the pen, paper, and phone call process. By digitally integrating with Manifest, today it costs them about $120, and with Manifest, we can significantly reduce that. Next. Fortunately for us, the 401k industry is heavily concentrated. About 40 providers make up to 98% of market share. Manifest has engaged top 10 of these providers, and we are at various stages in sales with them. Next. Our revenue model is based on the number of transfers we do. So on average, we make about $214 per transfer, and we also have a small SaaS component to it. Providers like this pricing model, and they've already agreed to pay per transfer. I'll end with the last slide. We have a huge network effects. The minute we integrate with somebody, there is huge stickiness to it. And as we integrate with more providers, our transfers that are digitized grow exponentially. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and happy to take any questions.
Great job, and thank you so much, Meenakshi. So right now we're going to bring up our judges for our final Q&A. And then what we'll do is, again, we'll start with Anu, and then next, right after that, Mercedes, Samara, and Michelle.
Amazing. Meenakshi, congratulations. Great presentation. The question I have for you is that, if I understand correctly, this is something that would be offered by employers to their employees. And, we've invested in several businesses that work with the same model, kind of selling into benefits. One of the challenges is often, how do you convince employees to try out a new product or service? So I'm curious, with your early data, through some of the partnerships that you've created, what are you seeing in terms of conversion as it relates to the employee base?
Yeah, that is definitely a very interesting problem in the B2B2C market. So on average, you see 7 to 9% conversion rate when you do the B2B2C model. But with Manifest, one thing we have focused heavily on is to be able to create awareness within an employer once we sign them up. We have 8 different ways we try to do that. So I'll give you a very simple example. It depends on the type of employer and how concentrated the employees are. So one thing we do is, let's say if they have one location where they have a small concentration of employees, we kind of send a Manifest branded cake to them. It's simple, but it kind of gets the word out. Next is the organized retirement savings kind of events. So this is a topic that a lot of people are interested in. One thing we realize is that there's a huge need on the B2C side. It's almost everybody I speak to have like 3 old accounts lying around that they would like to consolidate. Our biggest thing is to make sure everybody hears about us. Once they hear about us, they are automatically signing up. We have about 25 to 30% conversion rate that we can get if we can spread the awareness, and that's a huge focus for us.
I'm also curious how, in terms of your product, and I really love it. I mean, I had the same problem, left my 401k at a company for a long time, and then. So you solve the problem. How do you extend the LTV and the relationship, with the client, since it is kind of a one-time thing, and then, it's done?
Yeah, that's definitely true. So I think there's a good part to it. We're not looking to have somebody in our platform for a long time. It's a one and done. It's a tool. The other side of it is there are 16 million people switching jobs every single year. And about 6 million of them already transfer in this, difficult to transfer situation. So there are 2 trends that's happening. The people who are switching jobs is increasing 50 to 20% year on year. And also with an efficient transfer solution, it'll become the norm to start consolidating and transferring. I think all of us here would love to have a single good retirement account, but because of the paperwork and the time it takes, you've just started a new job, that doesn't happen. So that also will increase with Manifest. So our goal is to not keep people in our platform. What we want them to do is spread the word. So we have opportunities for them to tell their colleagues, their friends about this tool so other people can use us. And year on year, the number is growing. So there's a pretty good market size for that without retaining people.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for this. We have similar backgrounds in Goldman, and we're also both in Chicago, rainy and cold Chicago today. But I had two questions. So one was, if I'm at an employer that offers this product and I sign up and I leave and my new employer doesn't offer the product, it sounds like just to confirm, I'm still on the platform. I can take my retirement account anywhere I go. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we offer both on the onboarding package and on the exit package. So when somebody comes in, they can bring their account in. When they leave, they can decide what they want to do. They can take it to their new employer, or they could move it to an IRA.
And then can through your platform, the employee decide if they do their own allocation or if they want to change their target date funds, can they make those adjustments on your platform, or do they have to do it with somebody else?
Yeah. So right now, we don't touch the allocations or the money part of it. What we are focusing on is to provide transparency and an easy journey for people to be able to consolidate. Usually what happens is you have a destination that has an allocation already. The money moves in and gets auto-allocated. We do have future plans to start providing value-added services, but right now, that's not something we are focusing on.
Great. Thank you.
We have something a bit similar in the UK, which is to do with pensions. And I've just been through the very painful process of doing my pension transfer, so I understand the issue completely. But because I don't understand fully 401k intricacies, can I ask you a question that's a bit more broad in terms of what you're going to use the investment for and kind of what the next steps are for Manifest?
Yep, definitely. So since starting the company, one of the things that my co-founder and I have focused on is kind of really like trying to automate as much as we can in this broken ad hoc process. So we spoke to like hundreds of participants, did their transfer, collected the data, the forms, all the, understanding the intricacies of the process. Now we are at a point where we are able to automate 70% of, all of this that's happening, and we are able to expand within the employers we have. The next immediate stage for us is to, get more employer clients and be able to kind of grow that way. One other interesting thing that's happening is that through the employers, the providers are coming to the table. Actually, the providers are our big revenue source. They are already willing to pay for it. And the third step is to start digitally integrating with them. Build the APIs, work with their IT team to integrate. So immediately, we'll be using the funds to expand within the employers. And then down the lane, we'll be integrating with providers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, judges and Meenakshi, for that presentation. And so what we're going to do is I'm coming on the screen. So that actually concludes our founder pitches, which, again, phenomenal job to every single one of you. Like a Female Founders Fund would like to, just thank you all for the time and effort that you put into preparing for this competition, and congratulations on the impressive businesses that you've built and the growth that you've achieved. It's again, really phenomenal where you all are. It's been wonderful to learn more about each of you and your businesses. And so I'd like to also thank our judges. So again, Anu Dugal, our founding partner of Female Founders Fund, Samara Hernandez, founding partner of Chingona Ventures, Mercedes Bent, partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners, and Michelle Kennedy, founder and CEO of Peanut. And so at this time, our judges are going to leave upstream and join your Zoom link to deliberate the final winners of the pitch competition. So you have a hard job ahead of you, but excited for you all to rejoin and let us know who our winners are. And so in the meantime, what we're going to do as they're deliberating is I'm thrilled to welcome Lola Prego, founder of Base. And so we have Lola, joining us. Phenomenal. We'll get your camera working.
Hey.
Hi, Lola.
Hello.
Good. So good to see you. So everyone, this is Lola Prego, founder of Base, founder and CEO of Base, a venture-backed startup, actually one of our portfolio companies. And so Base is a data science app that's paired with at-home lab testing to help you understand and improve your sleep, stress, sex, diet, and energy. And so welcome. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and join our first ever pitch competition.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So we'll kick it off with you have a really impressive background, and so would love for you to share more about your experience prior to founding Base and how it helped you prepare for this journey.
Well, the first thing that I would like to say is that there's no one size fits all. A lot of people, or when I was starting Base, I would watch a lot of founders talk about their experiences and why they ended up being a founder. And sometimes it's tricky because you think that, the path to success is, others versus like you have to find your own. And as Steve Jobs said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. And it is not a one size fits all. That being said, my journey in particular was through big tech. I started my career in big tech, although, I did some also college degree changes. I started med school to then transition into engineering. So, of course, now blending those two. And then I ended up in big tech, which taught me a lot to, see how a successful company grows and grows quickly and how teams stay agile. And that was super important and something that I bring to Base day after day. In particular, after working at Instagram, we only had one company principle at the time when I started, that is simple things first. So as you could see, like very applicable to startups. And after that, I joined a Kozla-backed startup and Founders Fund, which was also within the lab technology industry. So it helped me a lot to get familiar with the industry that I was about to get myself into. Also understand startups. I didn't know what the Series A was, Series B. I didn't know anything coming from big tech. So that was quite helpful because then when you are a founder, you need to get familiar with all of those terms. And, you need to learn how to search in Crunchbase for, other potential valuations and people raising. It doesn't mean that someone cannot learn that from scratch when starting. But that was my path to founding Base.
Phenomenal. And for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us more about Base?
Yeah. So quickly, the reason why I founded Base was because I was experiencing chronic fatigue. So, 3 p.m., you cannot continue to work. So about this time. And, you finish work, you don't feel like going to the gym or meeting up with friends. And the key for me to understand that after trying the keto diet and other things that didn't work out for me was a lab test. And that's the concept of Base, right? When you don't know why are you feeling anxious, you're trying to lose weight, and just you have not found quite the key, right? The answers may be in your hormones, vitamins, or nutrient levels. So what we do is we pair at-home lab testing, although you can also go to Quest, with a tracking app that measures your levels, and it gives you dietary, supplemental, and lifestyle recommendations to improve from a data-driven perspective. So we monitor you, we retest you to also make sure that that new diet that we're recommending you to do or that new vitamin supplement, it's actually working and your symptoms disappear and you feel like you're actually improving. We also have a monitoring program for the people that after improving, they want to stick around.
And then for those who don't know, so Lola and Base, they've raised a pre-seed and a seed round. And so curious to hear how your pitch to investors has changed over time and what were some of those important lessons that you learned to develop that, convincing pitch to secure financing in both of those rounds?
The funny part when I read that
that question when you sent it a couple of days before this event was that, it changed a lot. And then I indeed went and looked for my first deck. And I'm like, actually, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just like the brand has changed. And I think the essence remains the same. So my founding story, which has a lot to say about what the product is today, this is the same. My vision about tackling a great market and building a consumer behavior, that what we are trying to build is people testing themselves continuously from monthly to quarterly to biannually, and those things are still still there. Now the things that have changed are the things that actually change from a company perspective. So things that we learn while trying to search for product market fit and iterating on the product and seeing things that are working and really exciting. So for us has primarily been how the product works, pricing, fine-tuning the communication and getting people excited. So when you talk about the market, of course you have several ways to go about it, from let me do a quick Google search and throw in a few competitors to actually let me tell you about the greater vision of this company. And that's something that we do today. And then other than that, our go-to-market strategy, but again, given that's just part of the nature that your company continues to evolve and you learn new things. So now our go-to-market strategy is really solid. We have data that backs that up, versus at the beginning, it's more like, it's more like a hypothesis. If I were to go back, probably what I would have done is to talk to other founders, learn about multiple founders' go-to-market strategy for my own hypothesis.
Okay.
So that's how my pitch evolved over time. So to summarize, essence is the same, and then we just have more data backing our go-to-market strategy and how the product works.
That makes sense, especially knowing I know how much you like your data, so it makes a lot of sense. And then going back to your fundraising process, can you share, just how you prepared, being a first-time founder, for that pre-seed and that seed round? How did you initially get in touch with investors? What you think worked and what didn't work, and maybe something that you wish you would have known?
So I'll tackle these by order. First of all, I think I truly sucked when I started. So let me preface that I was not the best. And for me, although this was your third question, if I were to go back, I would definitely talk to other founders and run my pitch by them to get feedback. It's a cold start problem because if you don't have a solid network, for me, I was coming from the Bay Area. I moved to New York City. I was most of my time was spent in big tech, so I didn't have that much of a network in terms of funders and investors. So when I continuously heard this advice, I'm like, cool, but I don't know anyone. But I would say is, cold message people on LinkedIn, get into Slack communities and ask for help. Because whether your conversion rate may be 5%, because founders are busy, right, and investors are busy, at the end of the day, that 5% could make the difference. And now to go back to your question about how did I pitch for pre-seed and for seed. For pre-seed, my story was that I found someone that was really passionate about lab testing. Her name is Katie Shea. She's quite popular in the industry, and she was our first believer. I met her during the second month of my journey at Base, and she was, again, as I said, you only need that one person, and then introduce you to everyone else. So that's the thing that you need to look for. If you don't have anyone, just continue to look for that person that is in, so you can get in and be patient. And shoot your shot. And through that, what I was pitching is, something that I learned quickly for me was in big tech was to put a quick prototype together to actually have some data to back your thesis up. So I didn't just raise with the deck. I know that some people can do that, but that tends to be founders that are, it's not their first time or already have a network. So if you don't, try to do whatever comes up that is super hacky to at least have something that is exciting to talk about. And that's what we did. So I built a quick prototype, and it did lab testing literally in the streets of New York City to prove that there was, market interest in this thing. So that's how my pre-seed round went. And it went super slow because I didn't know a lot of the things like, you don't fundraise during the holidays. So I went out to raise my pre-seed round during the holidays, and then someone was like, "What are you doing?" No. Just backtrack, go back again, go out there during the holidays, after the holidays. And it just so happened that one of the people that I already got introduced to by that person that I mentioned before, by Katie, he was quite available during Christmas, and he was looking at my deck, and he's like, "Oh, this looks super interesting." So we had a few conversations over the phone. And then the first day that I came back to New York City from Spain, where I'm originally from, he decided to give me the term sheet. So that was, I got really lucky, to be honest. But that's also, as I said, because I had that early data to prove my point. B, I had that person that introduced me to a few investors that she thought they were going to be a good fit. And then I quickly closed the round after that by just, going through that same person's network. And then for my seed round, that was an interesting one. I don't know if you remember, Adriana, but I was not really raising. And
I remember.
So I was not really raising. And for me, I was in a situation where I have, 9 to 10 months runway, but I was not clear as to what milestones to pursue to raise my next round. So Anu was a person that I was someone that I met during my previous round, and she was clear, like, "Oh, you're too early," which was my code word for like, "No, you're not a good fit." So that was funny because I'm like, well, if I'm not a good fit for Females Founder Fund, at least they can help me. And if they're interested in chatting with me, maybe they will give me some hints as to like what are good milestones without me risking, any potential, basically churning a relationship that could be, an investment relationship down the line because they were out before. So during that conversation, I was asking, hey, what milestones should I tackle? And what would you fundraise? And I think Anu said something along the lines of, "Oh, I would fundraise now." So I was quick to say, "Well, will you give me a term sheet?" And then she said that, she was interested. And that's when Adriana and Anu got together and did a super quick diligence phase with Base. And that's how our seed round happened. And then we had to close the round though, and that was work. It's not like once you have a lead, you can go to the beach and take time off. You have to close the round, and that's also, you have to do some work to talk to people. And I remember having a few meetings as well to close the round. And you have to be prepared that even if you have an exciting lead, you may still get some no's, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know a founder that hasn't, received some no's. And so definitely appreciate your hustle too. I remember the story of you testing outside of, like in the streets of New York. And I was like, this person has the hustle. I want to back this person personally. So what are a couple negotiation tips that you would advise for first-time founders? And did you negotiate at all on your term sheet, like in your pre-seed round?
So the first, I didn't. Well, I slightly did, but not so much. I think that negotiation is all about leverage. So what's your leverage, right? If you want something that is better, what is your why? Is it because you have another term sheet that has better terms? Is it because the market is different? In my case, my term sheet in both cases were really good. So of course I can go back and be, hey, I want more. But that's not really going to work unless you have a why behind. Slightly the terms for both pre-seed and seed change, but just because of the nature of then, you get oversubscribed and, so and so happens, so things get adjusted. But to get started, I would say that if you're really raising and you want to negotiate a deal, just make sure that you have leverage, whether that's another competing term sheet or, the market or something exciting, because if not, it's really easy for the other person to come back to you and say no, because they know that if you don't have another competing term sheet and you're running out of cash, or maybe you are really actually out there raising, they know that they're in a position of power in negotiation. So that holds true for any kind of negotiation that you have, that you're going to go through in your life. You need to have leverage. So that's my one tip. And sometimes the problem there is like emotions run high during negotiations, and then you lose sight that at the end of the day it's just about leverage. So you need to have a plan and be strategic and tactical about it, and try to acknowledge your emotions but put them on the side.
And then last question would be, what are your top 3 overall kind of tactical takeaways for pre-seed stage founders who are about to raise, and maybe even beyond that? What would you advise them?
So there are like a few tips and tricks, but the first one, get founder friends. It's just like the thing that I truly didn't do that I wish I would have done. And number 2 is show vulnerability. Just find that, even if it's an investor, right? Like in my case, it was Katie, but you can just get together with that person and be real. Like everyone is struggling at the pre-seed. Everyone struggles pretty much up until, Series B. I was talking to a founder recently who's definitely at a later stage, and then she told me that they didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel until Series B, which, like you always have those thoughts of, am I going to make it? Or like we are totally making it. So you're going to oscillate in between those two, no matter your stage when you're on the early side. And if you show vulnerability to other peers or to like maybe an investor that is not the person that is going to give you a term sheet, you can get both emotional support and actually sitting down and problem solving support. So that's something that you should definitely do if you can. And that when I had that mindset for myself, that made all the difference too. So, you have a tendency to always be like, we're totally making it, this is happening, and then internalize and like not externalize all of that pain and suffering and worry. So that's another one. And then for the actual raising on itself, there are like little tips from, if you're actually running a process, try to build your top of the funnel first. So build a really long spreadsheet with everyone on the industry that you can raise from. And then try to identify network connections to those, because intro matters. And then run and kickstart the process at the same time. If you're already running your process and you didn't do that, there are like a few levers that you can pull. So, then try to adjust your meetings such as they are all batch in a given week. Your intro meeting, you can get a sense. So do them back to back. Again, even when I close my seed round, my calendar would look from like basically 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. all booked, with maybe like a few, 15 minutes buffering between meetings. And that's how you should run a process. And that's those are my top 3.
Those are great takeaways. So I definitely, so a couple of pieces here. So, okay to be vulnerable, lean into and get, founder friends, back channeling, it sounds like. And then one that you noticed, you mentioned earlier around negotiation is on leverage, which I thought was really important. And running that process, controlling that process is what you're saying, which I think is really important. And somebody here in the chat wrote, don't be afraid to ask for, the average check size, ownership, et cetera, which I think is exactly what you were saying as well. So those were really helpful takeaways, and I really appreciate you joining us. I know you're extraordinarily busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. And for those of you who have not looked at Base, get-base.com if you want to check them out. So thank you so much, Lola. That was great.
Thank you.
Awesome. So now what we're going to do is before we announce the winner, I know that we're all anxiously waiting to find out. We thought this would be an excellent, very quick opportunity to let all of the incredible investors, founders, and community members in our audience to get to know each other a little bit. And so I know that it could be a little challenging in the virtual world. So we've partnered up with Upstream, a platform that is providing as much of a real world networking experience as possible. And so what you're going to do is, if you'd like to, you'll be placed in a one-on-one breakout room where you'll be paired with one other person who's attending the event today. And so you'll cycle through 2 rooms for 5 minutes. So it'll be a quick 10 minutes, and then you'll be right back here where we're announcing the winners. So at this point, we will place you in your first breakout room and see you back in 10 to announce the winners. Welcome back. I hope all of you opted in for that speed networking. I had the opportunity to chat with 2 awesome people, made a good founder connection, getting a deck. So hopefully, that comes to something. But really excited to wrap this up and hear about the winners. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring back our judges. And what we're first going to do is we're going to hear feedback on the pitch presentations before we announce the winners. I think oftentimes, especially within this industry, we don't get to give feedback a lot. And so I think hopefully it's really valuable to hear from our judges. And so we are waiting for our judges. Hopefully they finished deliberating and we can highlight them on the screen. All right, everyone's coming in. And so what we're first gonna kick off with our judges providing feedback to a couple of our judges actually. First, each judge is going to give feedback to one startup. And so what we'll do is have Anu, our founding partner of Female Founders Fund, deliver feedback to Catherine, founder of Anja.
Hey, Catherine. So excited to share feedback. I think all of us agreed high level that this is a great concept and that there's a true opportunity to kind of be a market leader and really define this category. The concerns that we had, there's a ton of education involved in this, just kind of looking at the general population. It feels like this is not necessarily something that a more mass population has been educated on. So that was a concern. And I think the second concern was just price point. I believe it was $17K over the course of the storage in total. And so felt like that might be a little bit cost prohibitive for some consumers. One interesting point that one of the judges made was just around the parallels with egg freezing and the fact that, it's only in the last 2 or 3 years that has really become part of the, more broad discourse, whether it's through companies or, individuals. And so it may be interesting to think about partnering with egg freezing clinics so that you can offer this as part of their their suite of products.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect. No, did you want to say anything?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so the 17K is over 60 years. So it's assuming that they continue to renew. But yeah, the egg freezing one is interesting because there's definitely parallels in the user journey. I think it's a little bit premature to engage someone before they're pregnant, but definitely good to implant in their mind. So I've definitely thought about it. Thank you.
Of course. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Catherine and Anu. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to bring up Tylisha Summers of Spendette, who is going to be receiving feedback from Mercedes-Benz, partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners. And just as a reminder, each founder is going to receive about 1 to 2 minutes of brief feedback from our judges on their pitch, the business plan, and more.
Thank you so much for the great presentation earlier today, Tylisha. We really enjoyed it, and I invest a lot in consumer fintech, so it's really fun for me to learn more about your product. Some of the of the conversation we were having was, on the one hand, this is obviously a pretty competitive market. There's different folks going after it in a couple of different angles, and the top up or round up idea is popular, which is also a good thing for consumers. I think one thing is we weren't entirely sure what the true differentiation is, and so being able to really crisply, speak to that. And one way maybe is to really think through, like, what is the real selling point? Are you getting rid of debt faster, or is there another, kind of value prop purpose that is really sticking out? And, you can do this through developing and really having conviction in your North Star metric. And so I know that was one of the pieces of feedback people were asking about is, like, what is that North Star metric? And another point is it seems like you have a good amount of traction on the B2C side. You also spoke about going after B2B. Sometimes in the early stages, it can be hard to go after two different, groups at the same time. So maybe trying to hone in and focus on one of the revenue streams to start with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that feedback, Mercedes, and thank you again, Tylisha. And so now we're going to do is next up we have Angela from Hello Guru, who is going to be receiving feedback from Anu.
Hi there. Excited to share this feedback. So I think, we definitely, all of us agreed that you have a great team and, both in terms of experience as well as relevance to the particular problem that you're focused on. I think there are a few things just in terms of feedback that I think are important to bring up. So one is your go-to-market strategy. I think understanding a little bit more about who you're planning to reach out to, how and why. The CTOs of the companies you'd be approaching would find this really compelling. And there was also, I think we mentioned earlier, some concerns around adoptability, as in, is this actually making the lives of CTO better, or is it just adding another kind of layer onto all the existing platforms that they're already using? I think, obviously your model focused first on the agency strategy, and so I think it's still a little early to get a sense of, how is the actual product you're building going to be something that can be used by, many, many users. So just kind of being a little earlier in the process. But yeah, overall, great team, interesting space, and great work on the presentation.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Anu, and thank you again, Angela, for your presentation. Next, we have to bring up Lauren, founder of Doramar, who will be receiving feedback from Michelle Kennedy.
Hi, Lauren. Hi. So congratulations, firstly. Amazing presentation. And I think that we all unanimously agreed that the kind of resale market is only going in one direction, and that is up. We all feel the value and the benefit in the industry, and particularly in the space that you're operating within. I think that we had some questions around the influencer stroke muse model, just in terms of the depth of and number of items. So if you have one person who you absolutely love, how do you then kind of build on that discovery experience? What if her or their style doesn't suit you, fit you? How do you kind of get that look, but in a different kind of way? And is there a way for you to develop the product in that way as well, just to lean into discovery of more products? Because obviously just buying that look or from that person that you aspire to or admire is amazing, but what about the potential to uncover other items and kind of route your way through the product in that way? And I presume you guys are probably thinking about that, but that was something that we discussed, just how to build on that. We also did discuss just around authenticity of product and kind of that reliance or a lot of almost pressure on the muse or influencer to be that kind of authentic product provider. So some questions around that, but overall we love the space and love your approach to it.
Thanks, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle and Lauren. And so we last have, we'll bring up Meenakshi, founder of Manifest, who is going to be receiving feedback from Samara Hernandez.
Hello. Well, thank you for this. And I know getting feedback in front of a huge audience is rough, so I appreciate you doing this. You know, overall, the feedback was you know, that you've found an extremely incredible pain point that every single person here understands, right? And that's just a there's a clear market expansion opportunity. You know, the number of people transferring jobs just gets higher and higher every single year. So not only did you find a big pain point, but a growing market, and that was super clear in the presentation. The product is sticky, right, which is great. We always want to see that, and there's potential for a lot of network effects for people that, if they like your product, can, you know, sell it to their network. So that's great on that. The biggest piece of feedback was really just around the relationship with either the customer or the employer to increase LTV. So really honing in on, is it the customer, is it the employer, what is that? And I know that gets tricky on the B2B2C side. And really just building a relationship with the employer or the consumer and building a brand around that is going to be really important in the future. But overall, we think you just did an incredible job. And thank you again for getting this feedback in front of everyone and presenting. You did a great job.
Thank you so much, Samara. I think that's definitely a good point, and I'll think more about it and maybe add something to my presentation. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Samara and Meenakshi. And so that's all the feedback. Again, it's not easy to get this feedback live, but I think it's extremely helpful. So really appreciate all the founders for you know, putting your best foot forward today, and then to our judges for all your thoughtful feedback. So without further ado, what we've all been waiting for, it's time to announce the winners of our first ever pitch competition. And so I'd love to welcome Anu Dugal, our founding partner, Female Founders Fund, to announce the winners starting from 5th to 1st place.
Great. Well, before we reveal the winners, just wanted to echo Adriana's points. You know, I think everyone did a great job. All of the pitch finalists, the judges, we had an amazing audience, really engaged today. So really thankful to all of you for participating. So to kick it off, I'm going to go backwards. As Adriana mentioned, everybody who has participated in the competition today is going to receive something. And so we'll start with 5th and 4th place. Both of them will receive similar prizes. So in 5th place is Angela from Hello Guru, and in 4th place is Lauren from Doramar. Both will be receiving $1,000 in credits from AWS, 20% off the first year on Carta with no implementation fee, and up to 5 hours of CFO level accounting advisory from Full Stack Finance, valued at $1,500. So congratulations to both of you, and really appreciate you participating in today's competition. Next up, in third place, is Talisha from Spendette. You will be receiving 5K in credits from AWS, 20% off the first year on Carta with no implementation fee, and up to 5 hours of CFO level accounting advisory work from Full Stack Finance. Congratulations, Talisha. Now, down to our final two. In second place, our runner-up today is Catherine from Anja, who wins a cash prize of 10K, including plus 10K in credits from AWS, 20% off Carta with no implementation fee, 50% off the first 4 months of accounting services on Full Stack Finance, 20 design consulting hours from the Working Assembly, and an hour of PR consultation from Jennifer Bett Communications. So huge congratulations, Catherine. And what that means is the winner of our first ever pitch competition is Meenakshi from Manifest. Congratulations, Meenakshi and the Manifest team. Our first place winner will receive a cash prize of 20K, 15K in credits from AWS, an entire year free on Carta, 50% off of the first 4 months of accounting on Full Stack Finance, 50 design consultancy hours from the Working Assembly, and an hour of PR consultation from Jennifer Bett Communications. Once again, a huge congratulations to all the winners. Thank you so much for your participation, and we are excited that you will hopefully join us for our next pitch competition.